Hey there, this is Red. It's time for another episode of Red Reveals. So we are on episode 2 of our Marvel Champions Galaxy's Most Wanted expansion character opening. So we did Rocket Raccoon last time, and this time we're doing Groot. I am Groot. So let's pop him open and see what he looks like. Now, Rocket, I was pretty impressed with Rocket. I thought he looks like a pretty fun character to play. Groot here, let's see what happens. So, um, we've got Groot, right? Let's take a look there. Let's start on we'll go with the alter ego side first. So, alter ego Groot, we've got 4 recovery, which is pretty massive. Hand size 6, 10 hit points. Nice. We're hitting the double digits. So, we've got Growth Spurt. Action. Place 2 growth counters on Groot to a maximum of 10. Limit once per round. All right, so we've got growth counters is going to be the Groot thing. All right, and then on the Groot side, 1 thwart, 2 attack, 3 defense. All right, so we're kind of the opposite of Rocket there, because I think Rocket was 2-1-1 and Groot is 1-2-3. 3 defense is pretty massive. All right, Flora Colossus. Forced interrupt. When Groot would take any amount of damage, remove that many growth counters from him. For each growth counter removed that way, prevent 1 of that damage. All right, so that's pretty nice. Not quite as awesome as an energy barrier reflecting damage, but he's going to be preventing a lot of damage. Now, the interesting thing there is it's a force interrupt, so I don't think you can get around that when he's going to take damage. It's automatically going to, you're not going to have the choice of removing the counters or not. You're going to have to take them off of there. So that's pretty interesting. All right. So growth counter is a thing. All right, and you can have up to 10, I think, is what we saw there. Yep, 2 to a maximum of 10. All right, so let's put Groot down to the side over here. Groot. All right. First cards out of the Groot deck are Fruition, which is a superpower. We've seen some cards that are relating to superpower. So place 2 counters on Groot to a maximum of 10. 0 cost event. All right, that seems pretty standard. How many of those do we have? We've got 1, 2 of those. All right, something to give us some more growth counters. All right, then we have I am Groot, 3 cost event. Hero action, thwart, remove threat from a scheme equal to the number of growth counters on Groot. Interesting. Okay, so that could be super powerful because you can have up to 10 of those on there. So that could be a massive thwart reduction, or it's going to be entirely useless because you don't have any on there. I guess that's really going to depend on how Groot's being played at that point. All right, and then we have I am Groot, I guess, as opposed to I am Groot. And then we have deal damage to an enemy equal to the number of growth counters on Groot. And this is a 2 cost one, so a little bit cheaper. And again, you're looking at the could be a little bit of damage or could be a lot of damage. All right, so I see an interesting interplay here where you're going to want Groot not to take damage because you want to keep those growth counters on to do these big things, but it prevents him. I mean, it's a way to keep him healthy, so it's going to be a toss-up there. Interesting. So there's 2 of those at 2 cost. Root Stomp. Deal 5 damage to an enemy. If this attack defeats that enemy, place 1 growth counter on Groot. All right. And I'm noticing that the text at the bottom of these, I am Groot, I am Groot, I am Groot. It seems kind of similar. All right. So Root Stomp, 5 damage, 1 growth counter for 2 costs. That's pretty good. 2, 3 of those in there. We are Groot. Hey, they changed the text at the bottom. Remove up to 4 counters from Groot. Choose that many friendly characters. Give each of those characters a tough status card. So this must be where he creates the big barrier around everybody. And that's a 1 cost card. That's pretty good. But again, you're going to have the growth counters on there in order to make that happen. So, all right, there's only 1 of those in there. We have 1 Fertile Ground, which is a support card. It's a location. Alter Ego, exhaust fertile counter, place one growth counter on Groot to a maximum of 10 and draw a card. That looks super powerful. So that's going to make, you're probably going to be Alter Ego, get 3, go to the next round, get 3 more, and you're going to be drawing a card each of those 2 times. That looks like it's going to be a really nice support card. So going to want to get that one out there early. That looks awesome. For a cost of 1, I think that's going to be Power Groot card. All right, Entangling Vines, another upgrade. When Groot makes a basic thwart, remove 1 growth counter from him and exhaust Entangling Vines. Groot gets +2 thwart for that thwart. All right, so we can thwart for 3 if you're willing to give up one of your counters. All right, nice. It's supposed to be the attack side of that. Yep, we've got Lashing Vines. After Groot uses a basic power, remove 2 growth counters and exhaust Lashing Vines, Ready Groot. Oh, it's not the attack one, it's a ready one. So you're going to drop 2 counters in order to ready him. So it's an upgrade. And it's a hero spawn, so it's got to be on the hero side. I don't know if you would really use that on the alter ego side. What do I think about that one? Well, that's 2 counters. That seems like out of the 10, that's a 5th of the counters you could potentially have. That's 1 rest. I guess if you've got Groot pumped up from other stuff, you could potentially get 2 attacks in. Could have some nice use there. Also, I guess on that side of things, he could defend and then ready also, so he could do something again next round. That could be very useful. So that one looks pretty good. It's I don't know. I'll have to see that one in play to see how it comes out. We've got Vine Shield, so when Groot defends against an attacker, remove 1 growth counter from him and exhaust Vine Shield. Groot gets +3 defense for that attack. Wow. So let's see there. Combining the last 2 cards, you could defend at a defense of 6, and then you would spend 3 growth counters to get there and untap. So that seems pretty powerful there. That's taking a pretty big blow. Vine Spikes. When Groot makes a basic attack, remove 1 growth counter. Groot gets +2 attack for that attack. All right, so there's the one that's similar to the thwart one. You're giving up a growth counter to do more damage. Wow. Those growth counters are going to be super important for Groot. That'll be interesting to see how he plays with that. I know with so many things that take growth counters, I wonder how tough it is to keep, and the fact that you lose them from just taking damage, how tough it is to keep in the good side of the growth counters. I think it's going to be really important with Groot to go to that alter ego side and grow those growth counters so that then you can have turns. I foresee Groot flip-flopping a lot in order to generate those counters. All right, we've got Starhawk. Here's our ally, a protection ally. So we're going protection. So when Starhawk takes damage exactly equal to his remaining hit points, return him to your hand. Well, that's interesting. So he costs 2. He attacks for 2, but takes 2 damage. And then he can potentially come back to your hand at a cost of... I like him. I think that's going to be a good card. Because if he's popping back to your hand, takes damage exactly equal to his remaining hit points. So that's going to be the tough thing, is you're going to have to figure out how to get him to take 1 damage, right? Because, well, you're going to have to attack 1 round and thwart 1 round, or maybe because the way the damage works there, right? You're trying to take consequential damage that would equal his hit point. So you're probably going to want to do specific things with him, or you're going to block an attack that specifically hits his hit points. That's a very interesting character. I would like to see him in play too. All right, we've got Desperate Defense. So this is a repeat of other cards. So 1 cost, defense, hero interrupt. When your hero defends against an attack, he gets +2 defense for that attack. If you take no damage from that attack, ready your hero. So earlier we'd looked at that combo. You could do not the combo and you get the +5 defense and untap. You'd spend a growth counter, you would be at what, 6, 7, 8 defense? Oh, that's insane amounts of defense. All right, we've got Fighting Fit. Deal 2 damage to the villain, 5 damage instead if your hero's remaining hit points are equal to or greater than your hero's starting hit points. So with all of the cards, so I could see maybe Iron Man's protection deck, that could be really nice because your hit points go up really fast as you start to put armor gear on. Um, there's a lot of cards that give you like +1 or 2 hit points, so I think this is a pretty good card. The only downside I would say is that it's to the villain, so you can't really do that to minions, or it's not free for anywhere. 2 cost for 5 damage potentially. Yeah, that's better than an uppercut by a little bit, but it's also a protection card, and I guess in protection you don't have a ton of just straight damage cards. So interesting card, an attack event. All right, got 3 of those in there. Power of protection. Couple of those. We've got Dauntless. So as I was unpacking cards, I saw this one and thought this one would be really cool. But the interesting thing is I have not seen a lot of people buying this card for me. They've got a lot of the other stuff. This is one that has not been popular. So anyway, Dauntless is a 1-cost upgrade. Play under any player's control, max 1 per player. While your hero's remaining hit points are equal to or greater than your hero's starting hit points, your hero gains Retaliate 1. So Iron Man's Tech Nova deck, I think that's going in there, right? I see that being a pretty good protection card. For a 1-cost upgrade, seems nice to me. I don't know that you want to run 3 of them like they've got here, but well, that's pretty good. All right. Hard to Ignore, which is a 1-cost upgrade. After your hero defends against an attack and takes no damage, exhaust Hard to Ignore, remove 1 threat from the main scheme. This has been a pretty popular card, and I can see why. So all the kind of nice protection decks that have been coming out, this is going to be a good way to get that upgrade out there and then ping some threat off of the main scheme. And it's actually, I think that's one of the things that's been tough with protection decks is you do your defend, and a lot of times you end up tapped going into your hero phase. And this is actually letting you do some of the things that you would do, thus removing threat during your hero phase as part of your defense. So I like that. All right, so we got 1, 2, 3 Hard to Ignores. Then we have an Indomitable, which is an upgrade. And then after your hero defends, discard Indomitable, ready your hero. So we've got like a ton of ways to potentially ready Groot after he defends in this deck. All right, so we're off to our basic cards. And here we've got Rocket Raccoon. He's a basic ally, cost of 3. And we've got play only if your identity has a guardian trait. So he's going to be Groot only right now. When Rocket Raccoon attacks a minion, he gets +3 attack for that attack. That attack gains overkill. So what are we looking at? We're looking at 4 attack on a minion with overkill. That's pretty nice. I'm liking it. Let's see, and it's only going to take him 1 consequential. So as long as you've got minions out there going up against Ultron, Rocket's going to be firing right on through. So that's I like that. Then we've got our Flora and Fauna, which is our team up. 2 growth counters on Groot, 2 charge counters on Rocket. It's not going to matter if you've got Rocket ally out there, but will help Groot a little bit. Then we've got our standard energy, Genius, Strength, and then we're getting into the other cards. So max 1 per player, Deft Focus. Exhaust Deft Focus, reduce the resource cost of the next superpower card you play this turn by 1. So I think that's very interesting because earlier on noted that there were some cards in here that are superpowers. You've got, these are conditions, skills, condition, attacks, aerial, and superpower. So there we go. Vine Spike, superpower. Vine Shield, superpower. Lashing Vines, superpower. We've got a lot of, almost every card in Groot's deck is a superpower. Look at that. So these are going to be amazing in Groot's deck, right? But you're at a max 1 per player. So really nice card. And you get 3 of them, but the good thing is Groot's going to be able to use that for about everything that he has is going to make it cheaper. So that's nice. All right, so there's 3 of them in there. I'll have to go back and review like other decks and see how much sense it makes to put that in other decks. All right, so we're through all of the cards that come in Groot's pre-con deck. We're into his obligation at this point in time, which is Wilt. It says, give to the Groot player. You can go to Alter Ego form, exhaust your Alter Ego, remove Wilt from the game. That's pretty standard. Then we've got remove 3 growth counters from Groot. If no growth counters were removed this way, this card gains Surge. Discard this obligation. All right, now looks like those growth counters are going to be pretty necessary to get Groot doing what Groot needs to do. So I think that's going to be pretty painful to hit as Groot. All right, we've got Blazing Inferno. That says, Fernax rampages across Groot's homeworld, Planet X, bringing death and destruction to everything it touches. So you got a forced response. After the villain phase begins, deal 2 indirect damage to each player. Ouch. That is pretty painful. Luckily, it's only a 2 boost, but that's kind of a nasty side scheme there. All right, we've got Fernax. 2 scheme, 2 attack, and we have little starry things. So forced response, after Fernax activates, deal 2 indirect damage to each player. Oh, nice. So not only do you have the Inferno doing damage, Fernax is doing damage too. You're going to want to get him off the board quick. And at 6 health, he's a biggin, so that's going to be fun. We have Fan the Flames. Let's see here, it's a treachery. When revealed, take 2 indirect damage. If Blazing Inferno is in play, take 1 additional indirect damage. If Fernax is in play, take 1 additional indirect damage. Ow! So you're looking at potentially 4 indirect damage when you pull out Fan the Flames. Ooh, and you've got 3 of them in the deck. Yikes! Okay. I can see where that would be pretty nasty in a multiplayer. You get those in there, you get Fernax out there and some Fan the Flames, and there's a lot of times where you're sitting on your round and you're kind of counting on your 2 health to be enough that as you go over to Alter Ego, you can heal and do things. So that, in my mind, that's going to add a lot of unpredictability to the game, where you kind of have to sit on some buffer health in order to make sure that you're all right, because if those come up, you are in trouble. And then just Infernax and Blazing Inferno getting in the game, it's going to totally change the dynamic of the game too. Wow. Okay. I think those seem like fairly rough Nemesis cards to come into play. We will see as we play Groot. So there you go. There's a Groot deck. Overall, what do I think about the Groot deck? So not a big fan of protection. Generally, not a big fan of protection. Quicksilver changed that. So Quicksilver with protection seems to be a beautiful thing. And I think a lot of that is just how much Quicksilver could ready up automatically after a defend. So he could do something the next round. This Groot deck seems to have similar things. So there's a lot of things to help him ready up. And Groot looks like he defends even better than Quicksilver did. So I think in a multiplayer game, when you got Rhino with the big charge on, Groot in some circumstances could take that without a problem. It doesn't even really have to have toughness in order to make that happen. So Groot's going to be a monster blocker for taking on some of those big hits. But he doesn't have the automatic ready. There's a lot of things in there that help him get ready, but it's not an automatic ready. So it will be interesting to see how that works out with Groot. Where am I placing him at right now? I think it's going to be tough to maintain those growth counters with Groot. So I think he's going to be a mid-level hero. We will see. I haven't read about anybody playing him yet, so I don't know what they think. I think personally I'm going to have more fun with Rocket than I'm going to have with Groot, just because it's more of my play style. But I think people that sit back and like to build up things could really have a lot of fun with Groot. So we'll see how this goes. All right, so we've gone through the Groot deck. We've gone through earlier the Rocket deck, which there'll be a little icon up in the corner. So if you want to go see the review of the Rocket deck, you can check that out. At this point in time, I'm going to have to go get some cards together so I can do some fighting with these new decks and see how they go. I think what I'm going to do is I'll probably start off my standard stuff is go against Rhino just to see how they play. I've got about every hero against Rhino, so we'll start there, and then we'll take a look at the campaign stuff and try to go through the campaign. I'm not sure. I will probably use the Guardians decks to go through the campaign, but we'll see once we get there. So that's it for now. Let me know what you think about Groot in the comments below, and thanks for watching.